Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh yeah.
That is like the
Okay.
first. That's like the first question anybody asks on digital calls like this,
We're
right?
so new to meeting online. Uh,
Well,
what is it?
it's crazy because it's been like I don't know how many years now since COVID. 2021, so about 4 years.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you live, but in New York, it started in 2020. But
No, I live in Washington State. So wait, no, I think yeah, you're right. So 5 years. Where do you live in? What neighborhood do you live in New York?
I'm in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Of course,
I love it.
everybody lives in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I've been here for 16 years, and always Greenpoint, and it's just always been the right vibe for me.
I grew up in New Jersey, so I grew up right outside New York City, kind of in the like Hackensack, not too
Oh, okay.
far from Hoboken uh,
Yeah, okay.
type thing. So it's
Well,
kind of funny that.
I know Hackensack actually. So I worked in Englewood Cliffs for almost
Okay.
15 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
I do hair, but for a company that makes hair products, a consumer goods company that was based in Englewood Cliffs. And then we
Okay.
just moved to Hoboken. So,
Nice.
but I
I
do
love
know
Hoboken.
Hackensack. It was the target that I went to for a long time.
I love Hoboken. I mean, I haven't been there. I've lived in Washington State now for almost close to 20 years at this point. But my entire family moved from New Jersey, and so I just don't really have like an incentive to go back, except like I still have
Right.
friends back there, but there's no place for me to stay.
Oh,
So
really?
it's
Well, nobody has any extra space.
right, right. It was kind of funny because my friend Dave, he works in television production, and when I went to go visit him, because my wife and I, as soon as we got married, we moved to Philadelphia to for her to do a grad, like an accelerated bachelor's program in nursing. And I went to go visit my friend Dave, and it was like he had two kids, and he was in an apartment in Brooklyn, and it was the most like insane setup because like their office space was in the kitchen, and then they're like one room for both the kids, and then it was like a living room, and like that was it. Like me and my wife need space from each other, so like
Yeah.
so for me that would not work. Although we did live in a like an insanely small apartment in Philadelphia. So are you still working for that company?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have some sort of like reliable income.
Right.
I'd love for it to eventually be just comedy and performing and all this other stuff, but
Yeah.
one step at a time.
I have expected you to be walking while we were having this. While we were having this. So the style, the format of the podcast is essentially it's kind of free flow. Kind of goes where it goes. I really like to focus on mental health, but it could be any sort of topic. We usually start out just like with background and where you grew up. And just really quickly, is there anything that you are like, I do not want to talk about? There's
Yeah, I don't have any boundaries about, you know,
okay,
identity stuff or like past religious stuff or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't I
cool,
can talk about anything.
cool, awesome. I just always want to be sensitive about that.
Yeah, totally.
It's the therapist inside of me that
Yeah, yeah.
always wants to create
It would be a bad
boundaries.
look to like have somebody like break down on your like let's talk about getting better.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny. Like, do you know Chad Johnson?
Furnace Fest, Chad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had him on, and he was like, "I'm just going to take this as like a free therapy session," and I was like,
Uh,
He was joking, of course, and he was like,
First
it's
in a
a
decade.
yeah, $160, but that is not the going rate. I'm assuming in New York at this point. I
I
could,
mean, yeah, it's so expensive.
yeah. And does anybody take insurance there?
Kind of. I I mean, I used to do a joke about it, but like I went to therapy until I started to have to pay for my kids' therapy,
Hmm.
and only one of us can afford to be well.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, but their therapist is really expensive. But like, I never know exactly how much of my insurance is actually covering anything because I still
Sure.
pay like a certain amount of
Yeah.
each visit, and just like, how is this a part of the? Yeah, it's insane.
How old's your kiddo, if you don't mind me asking?
20.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
Are they in
got
the area?
real. It's college upstate.
Okay.
And yeah,
Where are they
uh,
going? SUNY or?
Ithaca College.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, usually they're here.
Right.
Um, like, but junior year right now.
Most colleges do have the kind of like free counseling sessions, but they're always kind of with like interns, and yeah, they tend to be like
Yeah.
time limited in certain ways, or they'll kind of like because I live in a university town here. I live in a place called Bellingham, Washington, which is like home of Death Cab. It's where it started, and also
Never heard of them. Is it also
yeah.
where Postal Service came from?
Uh, no. See, everybody goes from Bellingham, starts in Bellingham, and then moves down to Seattle because that's where the scene is.
Sure.
But we claim them. We also claim. I don't know if you know the Shook Ones.
No.
They're kind of like a melodic hardcore band that were kind of in the like mid 2000s. They kind of I think
Okay.
they were on Revelation or something like that.
Are you near Bremerton? Anywhere that?
No, no. Bremerton is kind of probably like 2.5 hours. We live kind of by the
Oh, it's a ways.
Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah, we live kind of by the Canadian border.
Okay.
So it's a maybe 25-minute drive to the Canadian border.
Oh, nice.
So we would, I mean, when bands would go through there, we would kind of go up and see them. Like the Weaker Thens came through,
Oh, nice.
and I don't know, like a couple different other bands, but that's kind of the major hub. Vancouver's about an hour away.
Oh, sick.
But dealing with the border, always dealing with the border has been a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've lived here for close to. I've been in Portland. We were in Portland for quite a while, about 9 years, and then we moved back up here. Did you grow up in California? Is that where you were
Yeah.
on the West Coast?
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in Southern California, just suburbs, an hour outside of LA.
Okay.
And yeah, I was there until like '06.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find a very different like I don't know what was the scene because there's the West Coast scene and then there's East Coast scene, right?
Sure.
So like I grew up in New Jersey, right? So we had Saves the Day, Thursday, like all those bands popping off. I wasn't really a part of that at the time, but like what kind of scene? What was the West Coast scene like at that time?
It's kind of hard. It's hard to compare them because like I experienced the West Coast scene like pre social media.
Yeah,
And so then we only knew about East Coast bands that were like getting real big, or maybe they were on a compilation or something. And you just hope that they'd come. And like maybe they had dates on their MySpace, like, and that, like, right when that started. But so comparing like 2000s West Coast to like 2010s and 2020s of East Coast is kind of hard. But like I loved the West Coast because like I grew up in skate culture, and like being I mean in California, it's so easy to be in skate culture because the
sure.
weather's always ready for a skate
Yeah,
day. And so then you just end up spending a lot of time with people like sharing, music or going to shows and stuff. And I think it was for the way I grew up, having grown up. I know. I think I heard you mention in another episode that you also grew up in like Christian or like into like the church kind of scene.
Yeah.
And so like I felt like the church punk rock and like ska scene of the 90s and 2000s
Yeah.
was so West Coast.
Right. For
Um,
sure. Yeah.
all that like BEC, like gosh, what were those labels? Like like
Beck
before I
and
got into like Face Down and stuff like that, it was like the Five Irons and the all those like ska bands and
yeah, I think that was BEC
oh,
recordings or
and
something like that. Yeah.
Screaming Giant was one of the
Oh no.
labels.
Okay.
Um, that was like Obster Negative and Spud Gun and 90 Pound Wuss.
Yeah. I think my first like concert, so to speak, was like Supertones and Audio Adrenaline. At the, at the
That's
time.
such a weird. That feels like like even back then I would have been like Audio Adrenaline. Really,
Really?
not with my super tones.
Yeah, it was such a like an interesting time. Like the whole ska, you know, it's funny, but it's like I don't know. I was really into it. Like
Oh yeah,
there was something that was much different, especially kind of coming out of the the Christian scene at that time. It was kind of like sort of countercultural, but like I felt like Five Iron was more legit and like they were
for
very
sure.
much more like social justice oriented. And then when you got outside of more into quote unquote like secular culture, people still fucked with with Five Iron. Like they still
Yeah,
love them no matter what. Um, so I don't know which episode you heard, but like I was talking like 2 episodes ago, or my last episode was somebody called Rachel Dietkus, and
that's
she,
yeah, that was the one I
yeah,
was
so she
listening
was kind
to.
of part of like the Midwest
Great
emo
episode.
scene. Oh, thank you. And we were kind of talking about like skate culture and just kind of like, you know, what the parallel is, I guess, between skate culture and then getting into certain types of music. And I was just kind of curious, like your thoughts on the connection between the two, because I didn't skate, you know,
Sure.
but there were friends who influenced me who skated, you know. So what was your kind of pipeline?
I I thought about this a while back, like about like the way that the reason I got into skating, it was because it felt like something I could do alone and with people that were also doing it alone. And it
Hmm.
almost felt like if you weren't into team sports, here's a team sport where you don't actually have to be on a team, and like
Sure.
you can kind of like find this community. And I got real obsessed with skating, and I would just skate out in front of my house every single day for years. And my brothers had gotten into skating a little bit, but kind of like everybody did, like tried it and didn't like how hard it was at the beginning. And so I was the only one that stayed in it. And that kind of helped me make friends. If you went to a skate park and you were any good, then, you were around people that were like, accepting you because you were throwing your ass off a ledge.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think there was something about like the well, especially back then. It was very counterculture. It was like it's kind of punk rock. You're breaking into schools and shit to skate stairs, and then you're mad
Right.
at them for wanting you to leave
Yeah.
private property. I can see that now as an adult, but like I remember growing up and being like, why are these assholes mad that
Right.
I'm board sliding their handrail at this church? Like God would want me here. I don't know, like, but like,
Yeah.
all this stuff where you're like trying to break in to hit like a specific set of six stairs, like that was kind of like felt kind of punk rock back then.
Yeah.
Um,
So when like you grew up in more of an evangelical culture, is that kind of
yeah,
yeah where we
yeah. I
were
grew
at?
up in church, and really stayed in church until legit like 2012. I still went to church.
Hmm.
That was like when I finally left. But I grew up in church and believing it, but um, in like more of a default way, where like you're like, if you grew up and you're taught this, then you kind of never actually question it.
Sure.
And so it was like in the, late aughts, early tens, where I was just like, okay, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? And it actually sort of coincided with when I finally started trying to figure out what do I believe about my gender identity, and like
Hmm.
why do I believe it? Because I've felt this way all my life, but like now I need to like really make sure that I'm making a really informed decision if I'm going to kind of ruin a lot of parts of my life.
Hmm.
Like I knew that I would like lose people in my life, and so I needed to really assess what I believed in that
Yeah.
world, and that kind of made me think about it in other parts of my life.
What a scary kind of situation to go through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about anything for 25 years, you figure out how to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like so I would still consider myself Christian with some semblance of different faith. I went through a real deconstruction process myself, and like it was funny. I said I was talking to Dan, and we were just kind of like relating about some of those things, and just mental health and just kind of how it was handled in the church, and like just crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like just uh, if you were struggling with certain things, and it was like you might have a demon inside of you, like, and I don't know if you came more from a charismatic side, but like I grew up in a very charismatic church, and
Speaking in tongues and
yeah, like all
spirits.
that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so I consider myself I mean I deconstructed, but I also had a really safe place to reconstruct
Okay.
where people like I was literally able to find a church that kind of they broke off from another church, and my brother's actually one of the leaders of it. But they started in a backyard, and they were just like, we don't know how to do this thing. Like, so just like, what does it look like to try and be a follower of Jesus and admit that we don't have any of the answers and question and just try and live authentically as
Sure.
ourselves?
And you hope that that's what anybody would do, but it's
Right.
it's kind of it's unfortunate that that's more an outlier to like actually be honestly assessing. I remember what it feels like to have faith. It was hard realizing that I didn't have it,
Yeah.
and I think that like I don't fault anybody for having faith because I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that um, there's a lot of good that comes out of some churches. I went to some really wonderful churches that actually did good stuff for the community. Um, but the way that churches acted didn't actually have anything to do with the reason I lost my faith. Yeah.
Well, tell me about the. Can you tell me about that process for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was just for over time, I started being like, okay, what do I believe about everything? And I started thinking, like, what do I believe about my faith? Why do I believe this? Like, what are these experiences that I've always just sort of chalked up to being some higher power or something? And the more I like um, came at all these questions from a neutral place instead of a, well, you're a Christian person, you have a relationship with this higher being. um, I just realized that I didn't actually have any, like, I wouldn't come to it from a neutral place. I was only there because I was already there.
Okay.
And so like um like if you were ever like, if you could imagine being like in a relationship with somebody for years, and then you go, well, would I get married to this person again if I didn't know them yet? Like, if it's yes, then awesome, get back to it or whatever. But like, if you go like, well, no, it's just because it's convenient, that's not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
so
it
for
just
the
kind of felt like I wasn't intentionally there. I was just there.
right, was there a pretty hard line that you came to that you were just kind of like that, like, or was it just a process?
It was really a process. I was serving, I was volunteering in a church here in New York, a big mega church. And it was so much of my time and energy was volunteering that I was deconstructing while still going to
Hmm.
this uh, church that was wonderful at the time. It ended up devolving. Uh, have you heard of Hillsong?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they actually were, it was really beautiful when we first started the church in New York. It was very small and there was some like really wonderful stuff going on, but it got too big, it got too famous and silly and clicky and unhealthy. That didn't have any, I was there, I loved serving, and it was so much my community that I stayed there even after I realized I didn't actually believe anything
Mm.
anymore. Because
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, they're still doing some positive for people. People get hope from this thing. And so it was just little by little, it's like, now I'm lying to the people around
Mm.
me. Like these people have faith in this thing. It does things for them. It's doing positive things. I don't belong even serving because it's not an honest thing to do.
Yeah.
So it was over about 2 years.
Did you feel like outside of that, when you kind of transitioned outside of the church, that it was, what was your, I guess, like your journey into finding new community?
That was really really hard. It was really really hard. Um, my first marriage was basically falling apart because uh, she didn't want me to transition. That was hard at the time, but I have, I can understand that being tough for anybody who's married to a person transitioning as well. But so as I kind of losing, I lost my church community. I was sort of separated from my family because they are very conservative. I lost like basically most of the people in my life, and it was really tough. And I think like well, that's a lot of it. The reason why I got more like back into the music scene harder
Hmm.
was because of the community, feeling like this is I've been here all my whole life. This has been my world, and like I understand these people, and in this community I felt I've always felt very supported. I feel like um, people of all different backgrounds or whatever your personality or your you know uh, identity is, you can belong in the scene, is my feeling. I think that that's a very broad, possibly privileged way of looking at it, but it was one thing that got me back into it being like my community. And then finding comedy, started doing stand up um, in 2020.
Okay.
And a big part of what I latched onto was the community of it, like feeling like, oh, these people are all also insane for like trying to chase after this unrealistic artistic goal.
Did you feel
Um,
like art, or like, have you always been involved in the arts in some way?
yeah, to a degree. Yeah, to a degree. I was in bands growing up. I started playing bass at like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And I bet this is probably your story too, but you like start playing in like the church
Yep.
band.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great way to like learn your instrument because you could be horrifically bad at it. And everybody's like, praise Jesus.
Just
Uh,
serving the Lord.
Praise Jesus that I can't hear a single melody. And I started playing that, and so then I was in bands. I was like in like first like sort of like Nirvana, like Foo Fighters rip-off bands. Then I got into like real basic ass punk rock, and I played trumpet in ska bands for a while.
Nice.
And then I did vocals for hardcore bands for a few years. So I did that for a long time until my kid was born. And my last band I was in, they kicked me out while we were at the recording studio
Oh my God.
because we found out that I was going to have a kid and that I wouldn't be able to go on the road. after we recorded this thing. So they recorded the vocals without me and kicked me out from the studio. So the only artistic thing that I did between that and stand up was my career in the hair industry. So I
Okay.
do hair. I've done hair for like New York Fashion Week and Miami
Awesome.
Fashion Week for many years. I did that for about 12 years. And that was the my artistic output
Hmm.
for a long time in between.
Yeah. So I mean, you have a long history from 11 until now, still kind of involved
Yeah,
in
like
artistry.
that's 11 years because I'm
Yeah.
22.
Okay. Uh,
Don't you fucking laugh.
what's that?
Don't you laugh at me.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious if you had the same experience for me. Like my parents carefully kind of filtered what we could listen to and
Oh, you mean
just
secular music?
yeah. And luckily,
Oh
I have
my
an older
God.
brother who's like 4 years older than me, and so like we, he started getting into rap and kind of like grunge and things like that. And so like I remember one time like my brother would have to like hide tapes of things of like Naughty by Nature and all these different kind of bands. But my parents were like, I would say more my mom was, because my dad was into like Motown and the Beach Boys and like stuff like that. But it was
I think we grew
very,
up the same exact way.
yeah,
This is
probably, yeah.
like, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. And then it was like, you can only listen to the Newsboys and Michael W. Smith and like
Oh my
all
God.
these, or they would try and find like alternative Christian bands, and you were like, this is just a
Yeah.
copycat yeah, and they're doing it poorly.
If you like Disturbed, you're gonna love 10 Foot Pole.
Exactly. And yeah, was that like, did your parents kind of like try and gatekeep on music?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It kind of came and went. Like I feel like there were years where they were like a little like lax. Like I remember one of the first. Okay, so I remember my dad actually got one of those. Do you remember there was like music subscriptions where
Oh yeah.
it was like 10 for $1,
Yep.
whatever. He had a bunch of CDs, and I think that he was just getting CDs to because he didn't have like uh, enough of stuff he knew. So he just started getting more CDs, and he had Green Day's Dookie, and so I had stolen it from his little box of CDs, and I was listening to it while he was fixing something in my bedroom, and I was reading the lyrics, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, what's slut?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." And I was like, what's whore? He's like, why do you even have my CD? And then at the end of that song, I didn't even know what the word stoned
Hmm.
meant. But the way that they sing it in the song, it's like stunned. And
Okay.
I was like, I think they spelled stun wrong in here. And I like spelled it to him, and he's like, just give me it back. The other story of getting in trouble for secular music was my mom. So was borrowing NoFX CD, the one
Hmm.
that's like a family of cows are eating a human body on the
Okay.
front of the CD. And I had borrowed it from a neighbor across the street. My mom found it. Uh, Whenever any of us got in trouble, we all had to come out to the living room and sit on the floor in front of the couch to have a talking to. So we all had to go sit out there, and my mom had the CD, and she read all the lyrics. Uh, and she would spell out all the curse words. Uh, so I just had to
Shame,
listen to the
shame.
whole song, the whole album, word for word, spelled out curse words. Um, ah, what a time.
What was your gate? Well, let me ask you this. What was the first song that you heard, or maybe like a secular song that you heard that really kind of, I don't know, like sparked something in you, or you were kind of like, whoa, this like emotionally had like an impact on you in a way that was surprising to yourself.
I mean, it was probably When I Come Around by Green Day.
Hmm.
Like, I remember, I think everybody loved, I think it was Brain Stew was on that one as well. But When I Come Around, like, felt like, I don't know, I just connected with it. I think to fucking like wax poetically, it would probably be a little much for me about right now. But I just remember being like, no, this song is like really something. And like, I connected with it. But like that, that was like mid 90s, and it got me then into like Offspring, but then that kind of took me towards like, uh, you know, Vandals and, Lagwagon and, stuff like that eventually.
Yeah.
And, um, like the, it was all that actually like the, if you like this and you like that thing, like those
Yeah.
comparison charts at like Christian bookstores that got me like into 90 Pound Wuss and Zayo were two albums that I got like from the Christian bookstore. Um, I think the Zayo one I had borrowed from a friend at one point, but uh, getting into like actual like solid but like Christian hardcore metal kind of stuff. Officer Negative was one, and that all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I can listen to this stuff on out loud, and I'm not going to get in trouble. And so that was like when I was able to finally like take it on as like my
Right.
fucking identity as well.
Right.
Um, yeah.
So like taking it on, what kind of identity did you find in that?
Well, so I mean, I've thought about this like a lot over the years, like looking back at like how much I like would like lob on to like be the most ska, the
Hmm.
most punk, and the most hardcore, and like the most skate. Uh, and I would really just, you know, I always felt like I was just like not as lucky as my like female friends to have been born a very correct way or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I just need to be something, and I could be these things, and somebody just could be the most that thing.
Hmm.
And so I was like 14 with mohawk and like, just trying to be the most fucking punk rock, like just looking like a total dweeb. Like my first day of high school, there's a picture somewhere of me like wearing red bondage pants and like a denim jacket, and uh, just really, I thought I was doing it. And I did love the music, but I also like loved that it was like just an actual identity.
Right.
And it was like kind of felt like I could put on something
Sure.
so that I could be 100% of something, because I never felt like the way that I was born, like felt like it just wasn't full.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, did you find identity in being Christian too?
There were times, but it was usually like right after like a Christian camp. Like, do you remember like Camp High? Of course you do. Yeah, like Camp High, you go to 5 days in the woods with a bunch of people singing John Jingleheimer Schmidt, and somehow it means that you're going to draw closer to Jesus.
Right.
But it was a couple times after camps where I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a preacher. Like I'm a youth pastor. I'm going to be the cool youth pastor.
Yeah.
And I got really into it. I think about this a lot because sometimes I like watching debates of like faith debates,
Hmm.
and anytime people bring up anything in Revelations, I remember I actually did a Bible study series on Revelation, and I can't believe anybody let me do that, because I still don't know anything about Revelation. I think most people are pretty bad at it. But like I just got really into it a couple times. Um, and it was sort of in that, okay, well, I'm going to be 100% this thing then, for sure.
That's super interesting because once I found out that, like, so I went to a place called the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology. So it had like a theological component to it.
Hmm.
Very liberal school. It used to be called Mars Hill, and I don't know if you know anything about
Oh,
that
I
church,
know,
but
Mark. Oh, I've
yeah,
changed my name too.
yeah. And so it's funny because Mark Driscoll, who never mind, it
He
like
lives somewhere else now.
And should never be doing what he's doing ever, 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 ever again. But he plagiarized one of my professors,
Oh,
and in a book that he was doing. So there was this like we needed to kind of distance ourselves from there, and then they chose the stupidest name that I can possibly think of, because it sucks writing it out if I'm doing a job application. I'm like, nobody, like, I don't want to, this is way too long for me,
sure.
for me to have. But there was a real theological component to it in terms of, I don't know, just, it's not like you did like, there was an MDiv track, and there was like a kind of
What's
like,
MDiv?
so Master of Divinity.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, yeah, if you're going to be like a pastor or something like that, but an incredibly liberal school in a lot of ways, which is why I liked it a lot. But once I kind of like started reading the Bible in a sort of cultural and genre way, and I was at a church in Portland, and they were basically like, Revelation is just like, it's just coded language like against the Roman Empire. Like that's all it is. It's like, this kind of a, what do they call it? It's escaping my mind, but like doomsday, right? But it's just coded language. Like everything is coded language of the church at the time, trying to like not overthrow, but kind of undermine the Roman Empire at the time. And it's like,
Interesting.
oh, that kind of like, the beast is the Roman Empire, and like all this stuff. And it's messes with your head, but it also kind of like makes a lot of sense, because when you're also in like churches like we were in, it's like Jesus is coming soon. I was like, but people fucking thought that for 2,000 years. Why
Yeah,
now?
I don't even believe in him, but if he's going to come back, why just do it already?
Right,
Like,
right, right.
what are you waiting for, homie?
So kind of going back to like your pipeline, it's finding an identity in certain things. Did that ever did well? Yeah, the Christian world and the punk rock thing. How did maybe give more? If you could give more detail on the kind of conversion, or not conversion, the melding of the two for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of, finding punk rock bands that I was allowed to listen to,
Hmm.
but also I think there was like sort of a power in being like, oh, it's punk, like you could be punk rock about like your faith. Like I don't, did you listen to Officer Negative?
No, no, I didn't.
No, they were like a big deal at a certain point because like it wasn't very like fluffy poetic language. It was like very much about like being a person of faith and like standing up for your faith and stuff. And like that felt like a punk rock way to be
Right.
Christian. And so when I was still a person of faith, I really like that, and that sort of brought them together. But also, um, like churches would like let you do shows. A lot
Yeah.
of shows, because my bands were always terrible. Uh, we could only get shows at churches. Like, and so it was there was like a whole scene, especially in Southern California, or especially I don't know. That's where I grew up, so that's what I know. But a lot of churches were the place that you could go
Absolutely.
see like these shows, and even if it wasn't like Christian bands, you could still like get on a bill at this place that already had lights and a back line.
Yeah. It was very much like
Uh,
that in New Jersey. as well. Like those were the
Yeah,
between that and like Elks Lodges and VFW halls, like churches were like a main yeah, hub of
for
that kind of
sure.
stuff. Not my church, but a lot of other churches. Did you play any? Wait, you play bass? Yeah. How did you pick up a
I,
bass?
so I played bass. Well, I wanted to be in a band, and then uh, I just liked the idea of being in bands, and so I bought a bass just so I could start playing in the church band and learn. And so for like a month or two, I would actually play bass next to the adult that was playing bass for real. And
Hmm.
then I would try to like just play. I think they probably had my volume all the way down, but I could hear it enough to know that I was like learning.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started. And then I started playing in bands with like school friends and stuff like that. But I only played bass in bands for maybe 3 or 4 years until I started. I did like the trumpet and some ska bands, but then I did vocals and like little hardcore bands starting in uh, gosh, I don't know, maybe 2000, 2001, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Did you play trumpet your entire life, or like starting in
Yeah, so
elementary
I
school?
started playing trumpet in fifth grade at school. Um, I wanted to play saxophone, but saxophone costs more to rent than the trumpet, so I got trumpet. Um,
Which is a
I,
hard instrument to play.
I mean, I mean, everything's easier when you learn as a kid because you're just better at learning, I think. But I wish I still had one. I think about buying one, but I like even with a mute, you can't really play it in New York without being an
Yeah.
asshole. Um,
Unless you want to get
but
confronted by that guy.
yeah.
If you know what
Oh,
I'm talking
right, that
about. Yeah.
little that little strange gremlin guy. Uh, yeah, that's a cartoon. Um, but yeah, I played it until I was in a ska band called the Black Ties. Um,
Oh, no
and
way.
the Black
Because,
Ties.
well, no, my I had sort of like a music career, and our name was the Black Tie Affair, and
Oh,
it wasn't ska, but like that's
I
just really
mean,
funny.
we're both losers. So I was in the Black Ties, no joke. I was playing the trumpet until I sold my trumpet to my drummer uh, for some money and a skateboard because my
Nice.
skateboard deck had broken and I just needed a new skateboard. And so I got a skateboard and kicked out of the band.
My eighth grade picture. I still have this picture. It's me and my best friend, and I'm I have like it was like an eighth grade dance, and which is just awkward as hell anyway, right? But I had like suspenders on and like the the cap and like a tie, and I was like fully like Scott out,
Oh
as much
yeah.
as I possibly could be.
I can remember like I had like a members only jacket with all my buttons, and then I had like a pork pie with buttons on it. I had the madness like each letter was spelled out for madness on my hat.
Bands need to
Um,
bring back the button. Like, I want more buttons.
what do you know about that? Wait,
Oh, that's awesome. How old are those?
they just re-released them
Oh, okay.
last year. They might already be gone, but
My friend
um,
Dave was like, he still has a button maker, and he was like, throw some stuff over. I'll make some button. I'll make some bootleg buttons for you.
I've been meaning to make some buttons for like a caption that I used for a video. A bunch of people were like, "You need merch with that." It was just said, "It said no gods, no ticket masters,"
Nice.
and I feel like that'd be a great button, but just haven't had time to figure it out.
So in 2000, like, did you end up going to college at all? Because college for
No,
me was actually like a huge. I went to Oral Roberts University for 2 years.
well, you really did it.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I met a group of people, and there's nothing to do there, right? You're in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and like we had. I don't even want to go into it, but I met a group of like scene people, and all we did was go to shows. That was like our thing.
Oh yeah.
And so I was that's when I was introduced to bands like 238 and like the whole Tooth and Nail catalog through that. And Under Oath, my friend Dave, the same one who's making the buttons, was like, you got to check out this band Under Oath. They're from Florida. He was very into the Florida scene at that time. So he had a was friends with another guy who had a booking company, and so we started a booking company in Tulsa.
That's
It
rad.
was yeah, it was called Skane Gates, Tulsa. I don't know why it was called that, but like that, it was crazy because we were like, I don't know how to say it, but we were kind of like the outside group. We were into like Taking Back Sunday and Saves the Day and like all those things. I'll never forget we played a like an not like a battle of the bands, and we played Taking Back Sundays, You Know How I Do, and then my friends and I wrote a song, and my friend Chris was, was like swinging the mic around, and like at the very end of the song threw it up as high as he possibly could, and they shut the lights off on us, and like the mic just boom drops, and they were so mortified. Like the college was so mortified that we were like screaming and like running around.
Perfect.
But it was so funny. Like they literally just cut off all the sound on us and cut off all the music. So it's just funny that like that was my introduction, even heavier into like that type of music was my friends who were in a Christian college, and like I owe so much of that to who I am now, and
Uh-huh.
kind of getting in touch with that type of thing. But yeah,
You know, it's funny. So I didn't go to college, but like when I had this friend group of non-church friends that I got to know only through one friend that um that I did meet at church. They were all older than me, and it was way more like the punk, like sort of crust punk, power violence kind of scene, like dystopia, phobia, discordant axis kind of grind stuff or whatever. And uh and I all of this whole friend group was just all super cool. They got me into, drugs and drinking earlier on, which was like exciting to me because I was such a good kid. And uh but they like also were all skateboard people, and so I initially got into like harder music through that friend group, and because I was sort of like a fuck up with school. Um, my a couple of months into my sophomore year, they asked me to leave so that they wouldn't have to expel me because I
mhm.
was just a shitty kid. I was just like kind of mean to my teachers and stuff. Um, and I remember getting actually so the final thing when they asked me to leave, I was fighting with my teacher one day, and they sent me to in school suspension, which was run by my youth pastor. And so I went to in school suspension and hung out with my youth pastor, and he was very sweet. He like was trying to like, what are you doing? Like, not again, kind of stuff. And then the next day, the teacher wanted an apology. I declined the request, and they sent me back to hang out with my youth pastor. So that 3 days, and then they asked me to just leave the school. And so I just did independent studies, and I got my GED, and I just started working at like 16. So I've been working full time since I was like
Wow,
16.
at
Um,
16.
Put myself through beauty school at 18, and just made it work.
Did you know you wanted to go to beauty school?
Not necessarily. I was into doing my friend's hair just because I was like, I did everybody's like mohawks and colored everybody's hair and stuff. And when I thought about like how, okay, I'm out of school, and I don't like any of the bosses I've ever had. I was like, I'm going to own a business. I'll do hair. I'll learn about this industry. I'll open a salon. and then I'll just have my own business. And I went to beauty school, fell in love with like the actual technical art of cutting hair. It's like very geometrical, and there's like a lot of cause and effect that most people wouldn't be aware of. And I just
Mm,
fell in love with it.
yeah.
So it just worked out.
What do you remember, if anything, in terms of like the church dealing or talking about mental health?
The answer was always prayer.
Hmm.
Um, I remember the idea of mental health medication was just an absolute no go.
Mm,
Um, I never went to, the only time I ever went to a therapist before I was an adult and did it myself was one visit when my parents split up for 6 months. We did one visit with as a group, me and my brothers. Um, and so it was not really something that was handled in um, a full way.
yeah.
I think like a lot of, at least in my world, a lot of the answer was just to lean into your relationship with the Lord. Um, and I think that's like really damaging because I think that mental health is so difficult. There's so many
Yeah.
different elements to it that, like, not only is it hard for somebody to get better if they're not being offered all the right solutions, but I think it could also be like really bad for somebody's faith because, like, if you're just like getting worse and you feel more depressed or you're not well, you're like, okay, well, I guess this God doesn't actually care.
Right.
Um, and so I just that's always a bummer. A bummer. Like that's a bummer. Aw shucks. It's real shitty. That it's not at least um, more often offered in a balanced way.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder when I was 14, and you cannot hide that. It is not something that you can hide. And I felt like the the one thing I was gonna say the one thing my parents did right. That no, my parent. I love my parents. They're amazing, but like they, I started first taking Prozac when I was 14, and it was like a very like I don't want to say like a hush, but you weren't going to talk about that, and it was kind of like I'm going through this shit, and I'm having all these intrusive thoughts, and they're like fucked up intrusive thoughts, and they're the thing about OCD is that it preys very much on who you aren't. So if you are, somebody who is loves your family, or if you're very religious, right? There's religious OCD, and it really kind of preys on those things that like you're afraid of. So one of my friends had OCD, and he was constantly like afraid that he wasn't saved. So anytime he had a bad thought, like his ritual was like, yes, to pray, pray, pray. And it becomes so distressing that like being that I was 14 and my parents, there was this little element because we were going through like a revival at the church. And so it was like, we're going to, kind of pray this away. And there was some of that, and you kind of get inside, oops, sorry, you kind of get inside of yourself. Exactly like you said, like, why is this happening to me? Like, if God can take it away, why is he not taking it away? Like, do I
Right.
do I have to just suffer? And when you're younger, you don't really kind of understand that. Um, I don't take I'm not a Christian therapist. I don't operate in that realm. In fact, I don't take anybody really who is like deeply involved in faith, simply because it's dark. it's incredibly dark. Things that people are hiding, or things that people are ashamed of, and it's not that it's too much, but it's like I cannot guide you. I can't get you to accept that your sexual identity, like if you believe you're not supposed to be that way,
Right.
and that this is something that is like inherently wrong with what's going on. And I've been rejected by joining group practices or things like that because of my views on gender, sexuality, type thing. But it's just there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and it's dark because people just don't deal with it. God's going to deal with it. And coming from a place of like learning about my own mental health and holding some semblance of faith, it's just really difficult for me to like dive into that realm because I don't believe a lot of what people believe. I think one of the
Yeah.
hardest things for me is people try, pray the gay away, right? Or pray this away. And like I had somebody get upset at me because I was just like, if you want me to try and make this go away and like suppress that's not healthy. Like
Right.
I can't do that for you. Like it's not something that I can do, you know?
Yeah.
And that culture still very, very much exists, in a lot of
Well, and
ways.
we see how repression shows up in religious leaders, you know, in huge ways, and it's just like they are just humans that like you can't, repression is a I don't know. I mean, it's a strong thing, and
Yeah.
it doesn't go away. You just end up like fucking up more things and like and not having. I don't know. You're like not gonna get better at handling these things if you just pretend that they're not there.
Yeah.
And then if you're dealing with people who are sort of faith first, then everything that you know about the human mind and everything that you've studied about how to connect and allow people to healthy like work through things in a healthy way. If they are like, well, we have to put it through this other filter first,
Hmm.
uh, then the science of what you do is probably just not going to work.
Yeah. What was it like, for you, like in gender identity? Like, what was that process? I mean, I'm sure it's a long
Yeah, I mean, it
process, but
sucked. It was really tough. I just remember, when I was that age, when I was 6, and I really started thinking about it as a child. We didn't have a lot of the words for it. I didn't really understand what it was. Um, I just remember like being like jealous of my cis female friends, and just being like, why did it actually work for you? Like that sucks. I just like remember just always feeling that way. And I was like, I don't know what, like, does everybody feel this way? I kind of, for like a long time, I thought like, oh, maybe like every little boy actually feels this way and they're just better at handling it. And like, it's not, I could never talk to anybody about it. Like I couldn't talk to my mom about why this thing was like constantly made me sad and,
what
like
was that
sort
feeling,
of
if you don't mind me asking? Just
it felt like just like unsettled. Like if you felt like uh it just felt like you weren't done. Like you were like waiting for things to finally be just like really incomplete.
yeah,
But it was like hard to, you don't know exactly like how to describe any of that when you're that young.
of
And
course,
then,
yeah,
and then growing up in church, you just go, oh, okay, I guess like this is just a bad thing about me. Of like,
right.
there's something wrong with me or something
Right.
gross about me. And then I remember my favorite uncle was gay and lived in Hawaii. He moved away because he couldn't be near our family because they didn't actually accept him and his husband. And I remember being like, well, if Uncle Mike is going to hell, then I'm fucked
Right.
because whatever I am is even like as layers past whatever that is. And so it's like a lot of shame because you're just like, wow, like sucks that like whatever I am is like incorrect and like not allowed and stuff. So it was like this shame, but also just like continued to be like unsettled feeling. Um, and then as I got older, it's like this isn't it's not going away. Like it sucks that this is not going away because then you get older and you have like more healthy ways of like trying to process why you feel that way.
Mm.
But still being in faith, you're like, wow, I just need to get stronger and just deal with it and like sure as hell like continue to never tell anybody really about it. Um, but then like as a teenager, a lot of my cis female friends, I spent a lot of time with them and like like I would try to figure out ways to get to either, you know, get them to paint my nails or like I'd wear something of theirs and like as a joke. So it's just real funny. Ha ha ha. Uh, and so it's just like little things where you're like, well, like I felt like that was going in the right direction, but then it like because it was a joke, then you're like, oh okay, well that makes it feel bad again. Um, and so just like being in faith, it stayed feeling like you're just a gross version of something,
Mm.
like an incorrect kind of person. Uh, but you get older, and well, I got older, and that's how I became more aware of how I felt and like processed it in a healthy way. But I think like a benefit to the way the days that we're in now. Not that things are great at the moment, but I think just having more information, more science, before I transitioned, I started like really reading on like actual science about it and like, okay, so there's actually evidence that this makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and so that helped a lot, just like understanding that like I wasn't wrong. It was just not typical, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and I feel like that kind of plays into everybody's, mental makeup, like
Yeah.
everybody's a lot of different things. And um, I don't think that trans is like a title, it's just like an attribute. Cause I don't know, it doesn't really run my life. Um, it's just like an attribute.
Yeah. Something that felt really that I came to terms with a lot in terms of just I don't know dealing with faith and stuff like that is just kind of how damaging and kind of gross to me the whole total depravity thing where like you are a piece of shit right like
Yeah.
without God like you are just the worst right and everything about you needs to be killed off in order so like God can live right through you and like I just think about identity and this there was never this the idea I guess that it's like if you can't feel God then somehow you're doing something wrong and more of the concept that I came into I think in my master's program and things like that was this idea that of the imago Dei or like the image of God living inside of each person and that if I believe that that is inside of each person and I believe that that is not like everything but it lives there's something that's divine that lives in each of us that one it there's a source of beauty there but like we live it like there's stuff that's good about us and always has been good there was this weird like juxtaposition of you are fearfully and wonderfully made and also you're like a terrible person who needs to be saved and like I saw the damage that it had on myself and my self-esteem and like you said, like feeling, going through depression or going through suicidal thinking or going through, the different mental illness and health, like mental health struggles, like that did me no favors, right? In that. And I just always, like, looking back, just, that feeling of like something's wrong, right? You're kind of just a piece of crap without God. And I started hanging out with like one of my best friends who's an atheist. And like that's when a lot of it started to fall apart, because I was like, this person's wonderful. You know what I mean? Like, he shows more love to people, and I feel more love from him than I do from anybody. Like, so from people in the past. One of the things that is really hard for me is, especially in the current political climate, is that I think I was really fortunate in my church that people kind of fed into my life and really helped shape me in positive ways, in like really positive ways. And then watching their like current actions or their current political beliefs, like there's something inside of me is that like I cannot deny these people who fed into my life and the goodness that created, and like look, like I can't throw all that away. Like I can't
Okay.
say this person's a terrible person, and there's a real fight inside of me that's just kind of like, I don't know if that's the same person that I knew,
Right.
like how
Yeah.
they're acting now. And like, I think, like you said, just kind of the process of, there's wonderful things that can come out of it, and there's a lot of damage that can come out of it as well. When did you decide for yourself that like you were going to transition? Like, this was something that you wanted to, you know, pursue?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a crazy story, but it happened twice. So in like 2011, I had decided I just can't not do this anymore. I was just like, it was just a fever pitch. I feel so bad about like not like taking care of myself. Like I just felt like nobody else is going to do this for me, and I'm only doing it because it's going to like, or I was only putting it off because I didn't want to be an inconvenience to everybody around me. Um, and so I started, like in 2011, like identifying as like gender fluid and just being sort of, just outwardly a little femmy or whatever. And then when I told my wife at the time that I was going to come out, she said, "Well, then we're getting divorced." And overnight, I flew home. I told my parents. They freaked out. It went terrible.
Hmm.
I just realized I was going to lose everybody in my life, and I was still like going to church at that time. And so after a couple of days of realizing that my friends aren't on board, my family wasn't on board, whatever, like I told them that I prayed and I was going to like that God was going to carry me through this, and that I wasn't going to transition. I told everybody that I prayed that
Hallelujah.
it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And so then I was fine for like 2 years, and then it just came back. It was there the whole time, and I was like trying to, that's when I started getting like all my upper neck tattoos. That's when I did that. I was like, well, I need to be 100% something. So I'm gonna go even further with my tattoos and like try to be hard, like even more hardcore and more whatever. And it just, that didn't work evidently. And so like 2014, I was gender fluid again. I like had people call me like just a letter B, and and then, basically over a year, I was like getting ready to lose everybody again because I knew I just needed to come out. And so then I did um, again, and everybody was mad again. But then I just was like, I can't keep like wasting years of my life like pretending that this doesn't fucking hurt.
Mm.
And I would rather be like alone. I would rather be alone, like, and like proud of myself than like have all these people that like this fake version.
Mm.
So it was tough, but it was worth it. It was very worth it. Um, it just took a little time, a little adjusting,
I mean, not to
to
be,
find people that love me.
yeah, and not to be cliche, but like how incredibly brave. Like how incredibly
Yeah,
brave.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I appreciate that. I think that it's unfortunate. I think that some people just, you end up kind of getting to a place where you're like, well, I tried brave. I tried, like, brave was like pretending and all this shit to
yeah.
try to like, uh, do all this shit for everybody else, that like what made them comfortable. But, uh, in a way for me, it kind of felt like I can't keep being this other kind of brave. Like I
Yeah.
need to just finally fucking do something for myself because like you're unhappy. You're like wasting your fucking life, like lying to yourself or lying to everybody else. I didn't ever fool myself. So uh yeah, it was a lot of just adjustment.
I feel like there's, to call. I've been through some really shitty mental health stuff in the past 2 years, and I think I said it on that episode. But I was talking to my wife because I was having a bad day. I was, just kind of in fight or flight all day, which feels awful in your body. And I just said like, you know, I wish, like, sometimes I just don't. I shouldn't have to be, right. I shouldn't have to be this brave. I shouldn't have to be this.
Right.
I shouldn't have to go through this, and like, yeah, it's brave, but like, I don't want, I don't want to be brave.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able
I
to shut it off sometimes. And
yeah,
I didn't realize, how much I was missing in previous relationships until I met my wife that my now wife. Uh, we met just about 10 years ago on Tinder, and uh, she's just, to this day, she's still the most incredible person I've ever known. I've never trusted anybody in my life the way I trust her. I didn't think that you could because I grew up watching unhealthy relationships, uh, unhappy married people, and I think like when you finally meet somebody that actually loves you and actually supports you, then like when you realize that sometimes you don't have to be like you can have a non-brave day.
yeah,
Like, what a fucking magical thing. I mean, like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I am so lucky. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think there's there's so much to being this far down the road after transitioning, and also growing up and just maturing in certain ways, but then also being in a relationship that makes you feel safe. I would have never imagined like how good it would feel to be in a healthy place. Um, I probably would have done it all sooner if I had known um, how possible it is.
mm,
But everybody's timing is their timing.
yeah, yeah. Um, Did you lose your family?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Um, time will tell if things can come back together. I mean, I have a twin brother, and we've always been tight. He was always cool. Um, but the rest of them are conservative people, and um, uh, I lost my dad immediately. My mom, I think that she kind of tried, but like I think that she was trying to figure out how much she needed to do to not get cut off. Um, and I just realized that she wasn't actually supportive. She was just trying to uh, tell me what I needed to hear
Mm.
so that she didn't have uh, a um, a strange child. Um, I think that was more her concern because after a while of trying, uh, some things had happened where I was like, "Oh, you're just playing the part of trying,"
Mm.
so it just didn't work. But I think I think after I mean I was hoping that things might change by now, but I think that after this administration, I think that there could be some clarity in that kind of world. But I don't think it's going to happen um, in the way that things are right now.
Yeah.
But uh, you know, there's a season.
Um, what's Yeah, I think you mentioned. I mean, you said it. Like being in a healthy relationship is kind of. The word that I'm looking, I guess, and I'm like thinking is like what what saved you from a dark, like a dark place that you had to go, or not had to go through, but you did have to go through it, right, to be authentic to yourself.
Yeah. I was going through all of that you know, before I met my wife. Um, there wasn't a lot. I just leaned into work at the time, and um, I yeah, it was a lot of it was a lot of work.
Hmm.
Uh, I probably would have uh, I probably would have drank myself stupid if I had any money to at that point. Uh, so that might have been a happy uh, accident, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. There was a period where it was just like, well, you don't have a choice. I count myself lucky that I've really never had like suicidal ideation kind of mindset. A lot of it's always been, a lot of it comes down to, I want my child to to be supported. I want to be there for my child, and I want to watch them grow up. And I would, it's not something that I would want to place on my kid
Sure,
to,
absolutely.
um, and so I think that, yeah, for a while it was just, I didn't really have any tools, that's for sure. But I think that, the only thing that was really helping me at that time was feeling like proud of myself for actually taking care of myself and finally like, I had started hormones, and I just remember being proud of myself that I did all the things that you have to do to finally get this medical care. And it was making me feel correct. And it was like, I felt proud of myself that I was doing something that was going to finally make later easier.
Hmm.
Um, so I wish I had more tools at that point. But the most of it was just being like, you're doing it. You're fucking finally doing it. Like, just one day at a time. I think like now that it's been, way down the road, I think anytime, I don't know, I've gotten to the place with anytime where I'm like in a dark place or, depressed or stressed, um, I just realized like, none of these things can kill me. Like, I've been broke and I've been comfortable and I've been, I've had nobody and I've had ever, I've seen a lot of different versions of life. And, I think like a lot of times I just think about the fact that like, um, uh, what's going to happen? Like, what's the IRS really going to do? Keep sending letters.
Yeah.
I got them.
Yeah.
Like it's stressful. It'll like make you lose sleep, but like they're not going to kill me. That kind of thing. So, when I get stressed, it's just like realizing that there's still tomorrow and you've already been through shit.
Yeah. And sometimes it is just one day at a time, right? Like again, it's like people say that, it's just like some days it's like, can I just get, can I just get to bedtime? Like
Yeah.
if I can just get to bedtime, like that, it's survival, sometimes.
I did a lot of like catastrophizing.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah.
full last verb? Sure. Uh, when I was younger, and there was years where like I would actually dread bedtime because it was the
Yeah.
only time where I was like quiet enough to remember the one thing that's stressing me out at the moment. And uh, as I've gotten older, I just realized like that didn't help. It never helped. Fucking never helped. So I just have learned to just shift my focus. Um, you don't always have to be handling everything right there.
Yeah.
Um, I've also in the last few years I've tried to focus on when things are good, like understanding why you feel this way. Like a depression for at least for me, I think about depression in a way where it's like this isn't about your circumstances. It's not, or not always, like sometimes it's just your chemistry. It has you like upside down.
Yeah.
And so then like if you can remember in the good times that like uh maybe this is just kind of chemistry as well, then like at least you can know that uh those low points are finite. Um and that you just kind of have to get through it or lean into your doctors or whatever.
Yeah. How did music play any part for you during that time as like soothing
Forever.
or yeah.
Forever. I mean, music's always been my like. There's just like you kind of have your things that you go to where you're like, okay, I'm pissed. I'm going to do this. But then there's two different versions of that. It's like you're pissed. I want to be pissed with somebody,
Yeah, yeah.
or I'm like I'm pissed. I need to go to my like twinkly like old emo like sad kid music or something, or try to balance or to like bolster. Um, and but going to shows has like always been very, very important to my mental health
Mm,
because like it reminds me that I'm part of a community, and it reminds me that like people are creating art that I love, then you're with people who all enjoy that art enough to punch each other in the head. And like it may be dumb to a lot of the world, but like I love that I know, even if I don't know any of the bands on a bill, if I know what kind of show it's going to be, I'm like, that's like my world is going to be at Gold Sounds tonight.
yeah. That's awesome. Um, I know that you said in a post that like the the ending of Furnace Fest was hard.
Yeah.
And have you been to every single Furnace Fest?
Since 21.
Okay.
Yeah, like since they came back. I didn't go to the early ones because I was still like,
Right.
living in California and
Right.
yeah.
What has been your favorite one?
Ooh. Uh so it guess it would have to be a couple different ways. Like this previous one, so in 2025 was my favorite in one way because I had the most community.
Hmm.
Like as time has gone by and it has as I've like created more content in that the music scene has seen, then I get to like meet new people and like I've made a lot more friends in the scene. And so like this past one is past October 2025 was really special just because I felt like I was like with family. I love like each year going back and seeing familiar faces at like vendor booths, and we are just like, this feels like a family reunion that I don't get to have those in other ways. And I also got to like actually put on a comedy show at work
Oh,
play
really?
the night before. It was like uh, I was putting on a comedy show, and then Norma Jean was going to be doing a show like an hour later, and just like, how do I get to be a part of this world? So,
Yeah.
I mean, the most recent one was probably my favorite, but 24 was really special because we all thought it was actually going to be the very last. And so there was like everybody was like real bought in.
For the
Um,
third time.
right. One last time this time.
I only went to 2021, which that one just that it was interesting for me because for the longest time I felt like I don't know I suppressed this side of myself like the scene kid side of myself because I thought it was like I don't know like maybe cringy that I was still living in this kind of world or this time that seemed to have had passed. And then when I went to Furnace Fest, I was like, oh, like I can. It's freed up something inside of me that I was like, oh, I can put my plugs back in, and like
Yeah.
I can, I've forever been, wearing band T-shirts like my entire 20s up until now, but it freed something up inside of me that I was just like I can re-identify with this stuff, like because there were
Sure.
so many people around me who were identifying with it, that I was just like this is so cool. I can kind of go back to that place, and it was my own journey with having like some not shame with it, but just like feeling like I was living in the past, in a way. And I remember that being really cool, and the lineup was insane that
It
year.
was amazing.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
It was amazing. And on top of it, it was like, it was really wonderful to like just be somewhere like in COVID, like it
Yeah,
was COVID still. And just the fact that like we all were like, okay, let's do this together. Maybe not technically the best idea. I don't
yeah,
know, depending on who you ask, but like it was an awesome way to break fast.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's really
but
cool.
it kind of makes me think about like how like if you found out if you like got your genealogy done and you were like, oh my god, I'm like 70% Icelandic,
Right,
and then you go to Iceland and you're like, oh, these people are like me, like
right.
oh my god, and like there's something about being like, oh, this is actually like it's like my DNA, and I feel like going to live music and festivals is like part of my chemical makeup.
When did you start comedy?
I started comedy technically in 2020. I
Okay.
started doing mics in 2020. In my day job in the hair industry, I've done. I mentioned, I did, Fashion Week and stuff for a long time, but I also did educating. So like I would be like on stage doing haircuts on models and talking through techniques and products. And so I did a lot of public speaking for many, many years. And in any public speaking, you end up finding that humor can be used to connect with an audience really well.
Yeah.
And over the years, people were like, "Oh, you should do stand up," and it's like, I don't really want to be bad at something again. You get to a certain age, you're like, no, I found the things I'm good at. I don't want to like start over on anything.
Yeah.
So I put it off for a long time. But 2020, I started doing mics and fell in love with it just instantly.
Yeah. That's awesome. You also have
Yeah,
an unnamed credit in Fallout.
I do. Yeah, I do.
How did that come about?
I did. I was doing some background stuff during the pandemic, and yeah, there was one agency that booked a bunch of like Apple and Hulu shows that I did. But Fallout was really fun. It was like the scenes, all the set design, and was insane. And then like I got like custom fitted for a vault suit, and um, yeah, I was lucky because there was a bunch of background, and it was probably maybe 5% of us actually got in the final cut of that pilot episode. Because I did 3 days on set,
Oh
and
wow.
just to get that like 2 seconds or something.
Hey,
Uh,
that's me. It's over.
yeah, uh, yeah, but that was super fun. Yeah, we did a couple days in Brooklyn Navy Yards, and then a couple days out in Long Island on a sound stage.
Cool. What is like? I was gonna say. I'm just thinking. It's like I had something in my head and then it just slipped. Uh, you've been doing comedy now for. Do you have a special?
Yeah, I have a special out called AKA. I put that out. It came out in October.
Okay.
Filmed it in Indianapolis last April,
Where can people find that?
May, something like that. It's on. I don't handle all the distribution, but I think it's on like YouTube and on. It's on like everything other than Hulu and Netflix. I think
Yeah.
that's the easier way to say it.
I mean,
Comedy Dynamics put it out, and they like do all the distribution.
you have a pretty large social media presence, and you have like eight. Like, how did you grow that?
That was like weird. It's actually still really strange to me because, uh, I stand up is my favorite thing. I love stand up. I want to do stand up every day of my life forever. Uh, and a lot of what I want to talk about on stage is like sort of niche, like stuff that you and I would understand. But
Yeah.
like if I just went to the club in town here and just started doing bits about Converge,
Right.
I'd be lucky if one person had even heard of that band, let
Right.
alone understanding like little niche things about Boston or whatever. And so I started doing some videos initially last summer just to sort of like workshop niche material about the music scene or tattoos or whatever. And so I'd done a couple of them. And then leading up to Furnace Fest, I decided I was going to do like a 30 days to Furnace Fest, like a series of videos talking about bands and like whatever, like things about the fest. Um, and I didn't realize that that's an insane undertaking to be able to like do 30 straight days
I bet. Yeah.
of material. But I locked in, and I think like that what like helped me understand and sort of learn some of the little tricks of you know social media stuff. And yeah, and then I think that I've kind of learned more about um, uh, I don't know, just I really enjoy doing it because I've I'm finding through these videos is that I can talk about something I'm really passionate about,
Hmm.
and it's important to me that I'm not being negative. Um, I so much of comedy is like poking fun at things, and I do like kind of poke fun, but like I just realized like I don't want to be creating more negativity on social media. Um, and you don't have to. Like
Yeah.
I grew last summer. I had somewhere around like maybe 5,000 or 5,500 uh, followers, and then I started doing these little walk and talk things, and I'm like up maybe over 30,000, I think, and and I think it's just because once you find it finds your audience, and like I think that what's fun is I get to talk about. I did a video about like Anthony Green a couple of days ago,
Hmm.
and I was like, I don't know if it's going to really do as well because like most of my stuff's about like harder, like more intense stuff, and that one did really well. I'm just like, I just love being able to say very niche things that wouldn't fit like just in the neighborhood here,
Yeah.
but like it finds the neighborhood online. um, and yeah, it just I really love it. It's like allowed me to connect with some musicians that I've like loved my entire life too, and doing more combo shows. Now I'm doing like stand up shows with bands,
Yeah.
and that's been really fun. I'm going next week. I'm doing a show with Tunnel of Love and See You Next Tuesday in Grand Rapids.
Cool.
That's gonna be super fun. Doing some music festivals this summer. Um, yeah, but it's all just from doing what the videos are you know thought out, and like they're I just kind of talking, but it's like um, I don't know, silly little 1 minute like snarky things about very specific bands.
Yeah. You do it well.
I appreciate it.
Just a couple more questions.
Sure.
What is your hot take on music?
My hot take on music. Um, I think that like I think nothing's good or everything's good. Because I don't think that like any art is specifically good. I just think that like it comes down to the audience. Um, I I think that this is partially getting older and just realizing that like we spend too much energy complaining.
Mm.
People like really flipped out about Turnstile winning that Grammy, and it's like it's first off, it's a fucking Grammy. Nobody
Right.
actually cares about it's the business suits upstairs at Turnstile HQ, that like are gonna do something, with that. Like, I just think like, um, if we, if we can, if any kind of music that's being made, if you can get people to be going to live music more, then we're all winning. Um, I don't know. I think that there's a little too much preciousness about what genre is correct or what um, you know social media like tactics are correct. Like I watch a lot of bands like who complain that they don't get traction online, but then they make fun of people who are doing the little tips and tricks and to
Yeah.
get eyes on their shit. And like comedians hate that stuff too. We don't want to like have to uh you know we don't want to become TikTokers. Uh but like if you can find something that you actually enjoy, like I actually enjoy what I'm doing, um then great. But uh what was I saying? It's clearly the end of the episode because I'm losing my track. My hot take is that people need to stop being bitchy about music. Like, let's just make art. If you don't like that art, then shut up about it. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Stop complaining.
It does nothing for anybody, right?
It's
Like,
exhausting.
yeah. Yeah. Second question is who's a musician that you haven't met that you'd like to meet?
Oh, that's a fun one. Um, Honestly, this isn't hardcore, but like, I think Dave Grohl would be really cool to meet. He seems fun. I think that something weird came out about him. Maybe I can't remember. Oh, I think he cheated. I don't know. Still think that would be kind of like that's always been
It was
interesting.
the
Like
cheating
it,
thing. Yeah, he's been
it
cheating on
was
his.
cheating.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And he
Well,
had
don't
another
cancel me. I don't
kid.
know. Oh, okay. Well, I need
Yeah.
to read more. also maybe like not the best. I think Billy Corgan would be really interesting to meet.
Mm.
I think that this is like all people that I liked when I was like 14 or 12. Um, I've been lucky to meet a lot of people from our scene in the last couple of years. Um, I I haven't met Dimitri from Dillinger yet, Dillinger is like one of my all-time favorites. I haven't actually met Jacob Bannon from Converge.
Oh, it was
I'd
funny.
like
I
to meet
just kind
him.
of reached out to him, and he was kind of like, well, "Let's just talk, talk to my management team or whatever." And they were like, "So, give us some stats on your podcast, and
Oh,
like, yeah, like what's the podcast about?" And I was like, "My listenership is not going to be what you're looking for in terms of stats
like
wise."
nothing's happened enough to have stats. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
That's weak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough just to have people just like willing to come on. You know what I mean? Like people just randomly DM and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, cool." Like well, and some
Yeah,
I've gained like good, decent friendships with. And continue to kind of just talk with or text with and stuff like that, which has been really cool. Um, yeah, anybody else? Jacob Bannon.
Dimitri. I mean, I'm just thinking of the bands I listen to the most. I I don't know. I don't really think about like meeting people that much. Like there's so many bands that like I love the bands, but I'm like I don't really know anything about the people, so I don't know if I'd really enjoy talking to them.
Yeah,
Like I don't really know.
yeah,
I feel like it's like people I want to meet are dead. I want to meet Prince.
right.
Like uh, Jim Morrison and like Janis Joplin. Like I don't know. For some reason, when it comes to our world, like I love meeting people, but nobody's like on a list for me.
Right.
I don't know.
Just speaking of Billy Corgan, do you remember the band Swan?
Sure. Yeah.
Where the fuck did that go? Like, it
I
was
have
like
no
his
idea.
his
I wasn't.
positive side project, and it was great. And it was like
Which,
everybody forgot about
as far as I can tell, he has no business doing a positive anything.
that.
Is what I hear. I remember a funny Smashing Pumpkins story. I was like 11, 12, obsessed with Smashing Pumpkins. I was in the car with my dad going to the grocery store, listening to the radio. They announced on the radio that James Chamberlain, the drummer, got arrested for drugs.
Hmm.
And I was such a sheltered church kid at this point that I thought getting arrested for drugs meant Smashing Pumpkins is over. Like I thought never going to have a
Dunzo.
chance to see them. There's never going to put more music out because James is going to jail for the rest of his life. And like now I look back and it's like he probably like had a bag of weed or
Right, yeah,
something or like
yeah.
a little coke and like did a like an overnighter. But that's how sheltered I was. Is like this it's over. My favorite band. Oh,
Last question I have is, if you could tell your 20-year-old self something, what would it be?
focus on yourself at least a little. Like I I I would say that caring for others is extremely important, but it's such a cliche, but like you can care for others so much better if you take care of yourself.
Yeah. We something that I say in therapy sometimes is that like we often do for others what we can't do for ourselves.
Hmm.
Like that's harder for us to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also blaming ourselves is much easier than admitting that we didn't have control of certain things. Because when we blame ourselves for things, we can well, if I can just change that, or like I can change that, or I can do that differently. And sometimes things just happen to us, and
Sure.
and it's without our control, you know. Um, and yeah, I find a lot of people who are people pleasers or who do things for others a lot is they just have a hard time doing things for themselves, you know, or
Hmm.
giving them that themselves that kind of grace, or that kind of at least a burnout too, you know.
Well, and then, I mean, I think that whether you realize it or not, it can create resentment
Oh,
in the people that
absolutely.
you're caring for.
Yeah.
You're like doing all this stuff for people because you think you love them, but like then you just end up resenting that that thing got sorted for them, but like you've never done it for yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go. And thank you so much. This has been a wonderful, amazing talk.
I
I
appreciate you
am
having me on,
so
Jeremy.
I'm so glad to have met you and heard your story and being so vulnerable. I think you're wonderful, and I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
I will let you know when the episode's coming out. I got Dan coming, and then it'll be your episode. The only
Oh
thing I
yeah,
ask from people is that they just throw it up on their Instagram or something
yeah,
like that.
totally.
And I hope
Yeah,
we,
send a collab like when you post it, and then I'll accept.
yeah, and I hope to keep in touch, because I try and keep in touch with people that I've interviewed on here.
I think I should be passing through the Northwest
Oh, awesome!
in like July or August, I
I would love
think.
that. Yeah.
So
Are you
keep
going
an eye
through
on.
Seattle, or where do you
I
think you're
think that
going?
we're gonna do. I think we're doing Bozeman, and then probably straight to Seattle. Or wait, Bozeman, Boise, Seattle, probably. But I know that there's what's the major city that's out there on the west or on the east side of Washington?
Spokane, maybe.
Spokane.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe Spokane as well.
yeah. Awesome. Let me know. I'd love to come see you
Hell yeah.
for sure. Uh, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks so
Talk to you
much.
later.
Talk to you later. All right. Bye.
Bye.